Namaskar and a very warm welcome to our viewers to yet another episode of SSRF Facebook Webinar Live. I'm Shweta Clark and I have been associated with SSRF since 1997. Today joining me is Orithro Malik. He is from Houston, Texas, and he has been with SSRF since August 2010, and he's been doing various satsevas or service to God associated with SSRF. Like he's been writing for the website. He is also involved in online marketing and website management. So he'll be sharing lots of experiences related to sleep disorders, insomnia, sleepwalking, and nightmares. So actually, we request our viewers, if you'd like to write your name and where you're from in the comment section. And if you feel these experiences can help your friends and family, or someone would be interested in learning more, you can also share and like the webinar today. You can share it on your timeline. Also, as we go along, you can share your experiences, you can share comments, and if you have any questions also. So towards the end of the webinar, excuse me. Towards the end of the webinar, we'll be answering some of the questions, and whatever we are not able to answer, we'll be taking, there's a dedicated team of seekers who will come back to you within 24 hours. So we wanted to share with you, why we took up this topic on sleep paralysis, sleep disorders, or sleepwalking, is because so many of our viewers, so many of our readers of the SSRF website, they write to us on login. Actually, Orithra and me, we are also a part of the login team. We get over 1,000 questions a month from people from all over the world. And we saw that so many people around the world, they suffer from sleep disorders and sleep paralysis, or also nightmares. So we thought to take up this topic. And another point which we wanted to share with you is that according to the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, about 40 million people in the United States suffer from chronic sleep disorders in a year. It's like, long lasting. And additionally, 20 million people, they suffer from intermittent sleep disorders. So, you can see how many people are suffering from these problems. And our viewers, or the readers of the website, they've been writing to us saying that they go to doctors, they try different medications, sedative drugs, or sometimes doctors are also prescribing, relaxation techniques. But what we found is that it helps only to fix the fringes of this problem, and why it doesn't rectify the root is because the problem lies in the spiritual dimension. That is really not known to many, so that is why we try to fix everything at the physical level. So once we realize that the problem lies in the spiritual dimension, and we apply the remedies at the spiritual level, we'll be able to definitely find cures, and that's what this webinar is about. So today Orithro will be sharing many experiences. Actually, he went through these problems, and he was having insomnia consecutively for 4 years, and it was very bad, isn't it, Orithro? So when he started spiritual practice, he got many experiences, and he's completely, got cured of it. So we'll hear more from Orithro. Actually, we are very fortunate that Orithro has joined us for today's webinar. So not delaying further, we'll ask some questions to Orithro. Orithro, would you like to share more, how did you begin spiritual practice?
Sure, Shweta. Actually, as Shweta shared, I'm from Houston, and I studied bioengineering at Rice University. And I started spiritual practice during one phase of my life where I was going through some different things and difficulties. And when I found the website, the SSRF website, it really changed my whole course in life in a positive way. Everything got turned around, and I'm really grateful for the chance to be here today to share with you some of my experiences.
So Orithro, if you'd like to share with our viewers, how did you start experiencing insomnia?
Yeah. Actually, I started experiencing the insomnia in the year 2007. And initially it started sporadically, but it went on increasing steadily. So at first I wasn't able to sleep for some time, meaning I would wake up in the middle of the night and then I would find it difficult to get back to sleep. And then slowly, over the course of a month or two clear patterns began to emerge. Either I would not be able to sleep until 6 or 7 in the morning, and at that point I would basically have to go to my classes at the university, or I would have to go to work during the summer. So due to that, I would not get sleep that night. And as a result, I would be very tired. Or the other pattern that emerged was that I would be able to get to sleep, but then I would wake up at 3 in the morning, and then I would not be able to sleep. So needless to say, I would be exhausted. And this actually had a significant effect on me, meaning due to the insomnia, my levels of motivation reduced. My motivation to perform productive tasks went down. I was just exhausted all the time. I felt like there was a mental fog all around my head. And when I would try to socialize with others, it would be difficult. Meaning before this period, I could speak relatively easily with others. But after this started, sometimes I remember I tried to speak to somebody and no words would come to my mind. So it had a significantly negative impact on me. And it was actually accompanied by some other symptoms also, like sleep paralysis, recurrent nightmares. But the insomnia was the most significant one.
So, Retro, I think many of our viewers will be able to relate to it, and we hope that this webinar brings a lot of relief to many of our viewers. So, Retro, if you'd like to share, like many other people try, did you try any treatment, and did it help you?
Yes, sure. So I did try some treatments. Actually, I tried 2 main lines of treatment. So the first line of treatment was taking over-the-counter sleep medication, for example, taking some herbal supplements, Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, different alternative techniques like that. And the effect was limited, meaning maybe I got some relief for a few days, but then after that, they would lose effect. And meaning I tried it, and the only thing I didn't try was prescription sleep medication. And the reason was they were addictive. And I'd heard from others that after some time, the prescription sleep medication actually stopped working. So I didn't want to become dependent on a pill and not be able to sleep anyway after that. So because of that, I didn't go that route. So this was the first line of treatment. The second line is actually related to spirituality. And the reason for this is that from a young age, I was interested in spirituality. And then when I was 18, I read one biography of a saint. And after reading this biography, I was so inspired that I knew that realizing God was my calling in life. I didn't know if it was my main calling at the time, but I definitely knew that it was very important to me. And so from then on, I was actually seeking by looking out for different spiritual paths. I would look online, I would ask others, and I would try different things like meditation and other techniques. And I would get some experiences, but nothing was actually lasting, meaning it would stop at some point. So I would move on and continue seeking. Now the way it relates to my insomnia is that in 2007, when all these symptoms started, somehow from within, I felt there was a spiritual component to it. So even though I was a bioengineer, I was very rational-minded, I still felt that all of these symptoms, there was something that couldn't be explained with just the physical world about it. So I also, in addition to trying to realize God through spiritual practice, I was looking for a solution to the insomnia and other types of spiritual distress that I was facing. So I continued different types of spiritual practice like this, but actually I didn't get any significant results, except for one time. I remember I was chanting the name of God. I had read about it, and I started chanting. And when I started chanting the name of God, for 2 weeks, I almost had no insomnia. And this was before I found SSRF. But after that, actually, the insomnia came back. But maybe it was a sign that chanting the name of God is very beneficial and important for our spiritual journeys.
So I think many people, for you it was some divine intervention, God really helping and paving the way to do more spiritual practice. So people in their own periphery, they try many things, and once you hit on the right antidote, then of course the relief comes, as you witnessed, for 2 weeks, it helped you. So Richard, if you would like to elaborate, as you went more and more into spiritual practice, did you notice more improvements, or how was the experience, if you can share?
Sure. Actually, as shared earlier, I found the SSRF website in 2010. So during the period before that, I was just searching like this, sometimes finding a spiritual path, sometimes not. But then during this period in 2010, I was going through many changes and some difficulties in life. And they really changed my perspective about how I viewed things. So when I found the SSRF website, actually I found that it was just the most amazing thing I'd read ever. Because all the, for example, all the spiritual truths that I had read in the biographies of saints or in the writings of saints, they all seemed condensed into this one website, and it was easily available for everybody. So when I was reading it, I just kept reading and reading and reading. I was so interested. And I also started putting into practice. For example, I started chanting the name of God initially. So when I started chanting, when I started chanting the name of God, I started with 2 chants. And they were the chant as per the religion of my birth, and also the Datta chant, which is a chant for ancestral problems. And by chanting, actually immediately I noticed that I started to feel calm from within. I began to feel more joy. And overall, I developed a better attitude towards life. I became more productive. Things that were difficult for me to do for a long time became much easier. However, I still found it hard to get to sleep initially. So it didn't immediately cure my insomnia. But what would happen is, because of the chanting, the insomnia was not nearly as much a struggle as it used to be at the mental level. Because before I would lie in bed, maybe some of you can relate also, and I would think, oh, now it's 3 a.m., soon I have to get up, when will I sleep? Now it's 4 a.m., work is there, basically it's going to be another day like that, and that whole cycle was there. But this time, after starting chanting, I would just think, okay, more time to chant. And I would just chant. And it was okay, I didn't worry so much. And because of that, I even felt like I had a companion in the form of the chant. And it made it much more bearable. And then going forward, actually, I took the next step in my spiritual practice, which was to start attending the SSRF satsangs. So these SSRF satsangs, they really changed my life. They were just so amazing because they took my spiritual practice to the next level in every single way. And what I remember about these satsangs, the first satsang I attended, the conductors, they were just so warm, they were so friendly and open. I felt no judgment from them. And I felt like I could share whatever was needed to be shared and receive the guidance that I needed in my spiritual journey. So I continued attending these satsangs. And at the time, I was doing saltwater remedy and box remedy, in addition to chanting, as mentioned earlier. So the satsang conductors guided me to increase the box remedy to 2 hours per day, sitting down. So I put this into practice, and I began to chant for 2 hours, sitting down with boxes around me, and concentrated. And when I did this daily, actually this is what made the first significant difference. Because I found that when I did this, for the first time in years, I was able to get sleep throughout the night. So it really it basically took my breath away. I was very amazed by this. And I continued. So this really encouraged me. I continued putting into practice. And what I did is, after doing the box remedy, I also tried some other remedies for sleep. So one thing I tried was I took SSRF incense and I took the holy ash from that incense and I would apply it on my forehead and also on my head before I went to sleep. And I remember the first time that I did this, I had a really powerful experience. And what happened is I felt positive energy was flowing all through my head and it was clearing everything and I felt so light from inside. And because of that, I gained faith that this is a powerful spiritual healing remedy. So I continued applying the holy ash to my forehead and to my head daily. And as a result, I found that when I went to sleep, it would be easier to get to sleep. And I would wake up feeling more refreshed also. And in addition, I would take the holy ash and put it in water to make holy water. And I would sprinkle the water around my bed, keeping the spiritual emotion that it was forming a protective shield around the bed in subtle, or of spiritual energy. And another thing I would do is I would try to chant for 10 or 15 minutes before going to sleep, concentrated. And one time I remember I did this, I got the experience that a shield of divine energy or divine consciousness was forming around me. And I found it easier to go to sleep, so I did this regularly. So these were some of the remedies I put into practice, and they really made a difference with my insomnia. And I hope some of you can also try them if you're suffering from similar problems.
So actually, what Orithro shared, he shared many remedies. Actually, if you see the SSRF website, all these remedies and chants are mentioned on the website. Just to elaborate a little bit about chanting, chanting is also one of the foundation steps of spiritual practice that SSRF recommends. So you'll be amazed, how this one simple chant can help you sleep better. And what he was sharing, the experience of Orithro, actually it is the experience of so many seekers who joined SSRF and who are doing spiritual practice under the guidance of SSRF. So the chant, the specific chant is Sri Gurudev Datta. So like we said in the beginning of the webinar, like we don't know, most of us are unaware that the problem, which is like sleep paralysis, insomnia, the root lies in the spiritual dimension. So what we mean by spiritual dimension are essentially three factors. One is destiny, of course, the negative deeds that we've done, and because of that we suffer. The second one is because of departed ancestors, and the third is because of negative energies. So Sri Gurudev Datta chant is a chant related to departed ancestors. So what happens is, our ancestors, at the time of death, the only thing of value in the afterlife is the spiritual energy that one has. And given our lives today, how hectic our lives have become, so we have this responsibility, that responsibility, and we don't really have that time for quality spiritual practice. So at the time of death, what happens is we are in dearth of spiritual energy, and that's what happens to our ancestors. And once they move on, it's a subtle body, there is no physical body to do spiritual practice. So actually they are helpless in the other regions that they go. And what happens is they get stuck in a region called the nether region. And so the Dattatreya principle, it is the presiding principle for this region. So when we chant Sri Gurudev Datta, then what happens is that our ancestors receive that spiritual energy and they are able to move on in their afterlife, they gain momentum. So that is why anyone and everyone coming to the SSRF website, we recommend this chant. It's a very potent chant, and like how Orithro was saying, he was trying to do it in a more concentrated way. So we're not saying that you should try and do 2 hours at one stretch. It's not possible for most of us. So you can break it down into smaller slots also. But why doing concentrated chanting is important is because so many thoughts come, isn't it, when we are sitting and chanting, many thoughts keep coming. So when we try and do it in a concentrated way, then the quality is better and it will generate more spiritual energy. So that is one of the most important steps which can help you overcome insomnia or other problems. There are actually many problems that happen because of departed ancestors. And there's a whole section on the website, problems related to ancestral souls. So you can read about that. And I think also Orithro mentioned many healing remedies. So actually we had done a lot of webinars related to, especially related to healing. And one of the specialities of SSRF is that all our healing remedies are self-healing remedies. Very, very simple. You can do it at home, anytime, anywhere. And even the articles that are used in those healing remedies are very simple. You can get it anywhere. And the good part is, why they are so powerful is because they apply one or the other 5 cosmic principles. So I guess Orithro was sharing about the box remedy. So box remedy, there's a void in the box. Yeah, you're using cardboard boxes. It can be any cardboard boxes which you have, and the void in the box, it uses the absolute ether principle. So it's one of the most powerful healing remedy. Sometimes we use our intellect and we feel that, how can a simple cardboard box do healing on us? It is because it is using a cosmic principle. So while you are sleeping, you can put boxes around your bed. So that also brings a lot of relief when you are sleeping, and it helps to ward off the negative forces at night. So you can try, and you can also ask questions related to it, and we'll get back to you. So going further, Orithro, I remember reading your article, and in that you also tried changing the direction of your bed and sleeping position. So if you'd like to elaborate on that.
Sure. Definitely, Shweta, I can do that. And what happened is, ever since I was a teenager, I would sleep with my bed facing in the north-south direction, with my feet facing south. And I didn't think of anything of it at the time. And I continued like that. But one thing I noticed is that after I started chanting under the guidance of SSRF, basically it would feel like, so I would read the website, I started chanting, and then I felt like I was gaining energy throughout the day, spiritual energy by chanting. But then when I went to sleep, or when I tried to sleep, and then when I woke up the next morning, it would feel like all that energy was gone, and I would have to rebuild it from scratch by chanting again. And I didn't understand why this was happening. So I continued like that for some time. And then I happened to read one article on the SSRF website about how the direction your bed faces while you're sleeping has an impact on you. And the article explained that sleeping with your feet facing west is actually beneficial from a spiritual standpoint, whereas sleeping with your feet facing south is detrimental, because it increases the spiritual impurity in the person. So when I read that, I immediately changed the direction of my bed so that my feet would face west. And by doing that, I noticed 2 changes. One change was that I was able to sleep 1 hour less, and actually I woke up feeling even more refreshed. And the second change was that this feeling that the energy from chanting is going away completely disappeared. Actually, it got replaced with the opposite feeling, which means I would feel that energy, by chanting, energy was building, and then the next day it continued. So as I kept chanting, it felt like I was building up on these reserves, I was building up on these stores of energy. So it continued, and it was very blissful. So that's my experience with that.
So just for the benefit of our viewers, actually the south direction is also the direction of the bed. So that is why what happens is, when you sleep with your feet facing south, it sucks out the spiritual positivity, because from that direction, a lot of Rajatama frequencies come. Or Rajatama means spiritually impure frequencies or vibrations come, and that's why that sucking of energy that you experience. So actually, experiences of Orithro kind of re-emphasize all the spiritual science that we've shared on the website. And it's not just Orithro, there are so many seekers who have shared similar experiences. So viewers, if you have that opportunity and you are able to change the direction of your feet facing the west, it's better. But sometimes what happens, it is not possible for us, or say there's less space, or for whatever reasons you're not able to do it. Then alternatively, what you could do is you can place boxes in all directions, or you can apply all the healing remedies like blowing holy ash in the corners of the room. So what happens is, see the corners, two directions meet in the corners, isn't it? So there's some friction that is created, and that friction attracts Rajatama frequencies or spiritually impure frequencies. So by blowing holy ash, that negativity can go down. So these are some alternatives which you can use if you are not able to change the direction of sleep. Okay, Aritra, so going forward, you continue to increase your spiritual practice, and as you intensify spiritual practice, Aritra, did you feel more changes coming about and you were able to overcome insomnia? If you'd like to share.
Yes. Actually, by continuing with spiritual practice, I noticed many changes. And I'll just share a little bit about how it began. So going forward from attending satsangs, the next step I took in spiritual practice was I started doing personality defect removal, which is a process that's designed to reduce the defects in our personality, like laziness, worrying, insecurity, so that we can experience more bliss and connection with God. And there's different aspects to this process. One of the aspects is called taking autosuggestions. And an autosuggestion is essentially a self-suggestion to help you to overcome these defects. And the process is you chant for some minutes, you take these self-suggestions, and then you chant again. So I still remember the first time I took an autosuggestion, I started chanting, and I went into a state of deep concentration. And it was so deep that after that, as I repeated the self-suggestions, I really felt they were going inside. And then I chanted and came out of it. Actually, the autosuggestion was about getting up on time, because due to my insomnia, I found it difficult to wake up on time. And so then I took this autosuggestion and then I went to bed. And then the next morning, I still don't know what happened, but when the alarm rang, it really felt like a hand just grabbed me and yanked me out of bed. So I gained a lot of faith in these autosuggestions. So that was one aspect. Another aspect of personality defect removal is writing mistakes in your daily chart. And the reason we do this is so that we can keep a track of how our defects manifest, so we can overcome them systematically and basically experience more connection with God, as shared earlier. So I started this process also. I began to write mistakes. And I remember one time when I wrote a mistake, I actually felt like black energy or distressing energy was being pulled out of my body and destroyed. And due to this, I realized the importance of writing mistakes. So I began to diligently practice PDR, and I increased efforts in it. And as a result, my I noticed various benefits. For example, my levels of stress went down. I felt more joyful from within. I was more open with others. And basically, I got more joy out of spiritual practice and life in general. So I continued with this, and these benefits were manifesting. And one other benefit was that actually my insomnia got even better. Due to the spiritual healing, the insomnia reduced. But after I did regular PDR, I found that it was even easier to get to sleep and stay asleep. So the PDR, or the personality defect removal process, helped a lot with that. Another aspect of spiritual practice that I started later was starting satseva, or service unto the absolute truth. So this means serving God for others. And the reason satseva is important is because God has the quality of taking care of the whole universe. So by offering satseva, we imbibe that quality. By offering something for the cause of God, spreading spirituality, we imbibe that quality and we become more eligible to receive God's divine grace. And I'm actually experiencing this daily, since I'm rendering satseva daily. But I experienced it also the very first time I did some satseva. And the first time I did satseva, I did it for, what I did was, it was something related to the website. So for 15 minutes, I was sitting and I did some satseva. And then I went to do some concentrated chanting, like I was normally doing. And when I did that chanting though, this time it was very, very different. I felt so much surrender and connection to God during that chanting that I never felt before. And I realized that by doing 15 minutes of satseva, if one is able to feel so much bliss and surrender and connection, then how important must satseva be for our spiritual practice? So I continued doing satseva regularly as a result, and I noticed some different benefits because of that. Mainly, my overall levels of spiritual energy went up by doing regular satseva. So I found it was easier to write regular mistakes, to chant more, to chant in different situations, to take the auto-suggestions, to think of others. Basically, it became possible to increase my spiritual practice. And in addition to that, I also made efforts to awaken spiritual emotion. For example, I would pray more. I would pay gratitude to God for all that's being done for us. I would try to chant with spiritual emotion. And this gave the experience that God is actually present in our lives, and it's something to be experienced actually. And through that experience, you gain so much faith that you're ready to give more and more to spirituality. So then that helped me to increase my efforts. And as a result of all of these efforts, what happened is I noticed some different changes. For example, if you compare several years ago to now, as I was saying earlier, I'm more open. I approach people more easily. I'm much more calm than before. I'm basically more steady. I'm more organized even, though there is some way to go in that. But basically, things are getting better. And really, it's just changed my life completely. Whereas before, I was not having much direction. Now I have a clear purpose, the highest purpose, meaning the most blissful purpose, which is to realize God. And it's just, absolutely awe-inspiring. And because of all of this, what happened is that in addition, within 1.5 years of starting spiritual practice with SSRF, my insomnia completely went away. And this all happened without any medication or supplements. So basically, due to spiritual practice, it's just really a grace to get the opportunity to share this with all of you.
So, like how Auditra was sharing, actually SSRF recommends 8 steps of spiritual practice. And earlier on we talked about chanting. So chanting is one of the foundation steps. But what happens is as we apply more and more steps, it becomes easier, because with every step what happens, we are harnessing spiritual energy. Like how Auditra was sharing that he started with the PDR process. So actually PDR process is also linked to overcoming defects in personality, and how it is somehow related to insomnia or sleeping problems is because sometimes many of us have laziness, isn't it? We have after getting up from bed, we will just leave the bed messy the whole day. So what happens is when the bed is messy, it pulls negativity from the environment. And then it becomes very easy for negative energies to come and create a mesh over us. So while in the morning we are rushing to work, we just leave the bed like that, and then we come back and we sleep on the same bed. So we are giving red carpet treatment to negative energies, come and attack me. That's what happens. Many of us are oblivious to, we just feel, oh, it's just the other thing, we've not made our bed, big deal, I'll make it tomorrow. But how, our personality defects are like something on which negative energies cling on to and continue to harm us. And because of that, so many problems happen in life. So that is why with SSRF, if you attend any of our online satsang, you will hear that personality defect removal process. We lay a lot of emphasis on this process, because once the personality defects go down, then negative energies are not able to latch on to us, and then we benefit spiritually. And how another step which Aurithro talked about is increasing spiritual emotion. So what is spiritual emotion is that intense awareness of God, that God is present. And once you start experiencing, it is not just something that we talk about in words, but when you really start experiencing spiritual emotion, then everything starts to become easy. because we harness spiritual energy, God's presence. So each step of spiritual practice that SSRF recommends, like as you go along, doing and imbibing and practicing each of these steps, then you will start to benefit more and more. But you can start somewhere, like if you feel that chanting is easy for you, chanting, applying some healing remedies. So in that way also you can start. So Oritra, it was really nice and inspiring, listening to your story and how actually you embarked on the spiritual journey, and all along you had so many experiences, and just within 1.5 years you were able to completely overcome insomnia. It's a very big experience, and I'm sure our viewers would have got a lot of help and some remedies also as we were talking during the webinar. So now we could take some questions. Oritra, if you'd like to share some questions.
Yes, actually we have a question from Karen from the United States. And Karen is saying, while I was staying at the dorm at my university in my 20s, I often had the experience of feeling that I woke up, but I would not be able to move. I was aware of what was going on around me, and I could hear my roommates as well, but I could not speak or do anything. I think it was some kind of paralysis, but it was really scary. My roommates would not know that I'm trying to get help, and they would carry on with their activities. Sometimes it would last for 30 minutes or more. What was happening to me?
So Karen, it is very nice that you've been able to share. Actually, sleep paralysis, it's very common and many people suffer from this. And I have also suffered. It's a very eerie experience because you are in that position, you're trying to reach out and then you are not able, no one can hear you. So you are kind of helpless in that position. And I can completely relate and understand how difficult it is when you're going through something like sleep paralysis. So what we found, Karen, through spiritual research, that the main cause of sleep paralysis is because of ghosts or departed ancestors. They are the main cause, what causes this sleep paralysis. And why this happens is because sometimes there is a negative give and take account with that departed ancestor or the ghost. And another important point is for all of you, not just Karen, but any of us who are experiencing sleep paralysis, is that happens when we are lying down on our back. So there is, just to explain a little bit, see, there is a Kundalini energy. It's the spiritual energy system in our body, and when we lie on our back, then what happens is that energy remains dormant, because this energy system, what it does is that it provides spiritual energy to our motor organs. It gives us that vital energy for functioning. So when we are on our back, then what happens is that energy lies dormant, and then it becomes very easy for negative energies or ghosts to attack us. And that is why we experience that helplessness, or we are completely taken over by the ghosts. So that is what happens. Just to explain a little bit further, that there are 3 types of sleep paralysis that we've seen. So one is when the ghost presses the body of the person down, like they are on the person and they are pressing it down, and that affects the mental faculties of the person. So you're not able to move, you're not able to reach out, although the person is conscious inside, but they're not able to reach out. Then in the second type of sleep paralysis, what happens is, negative energies, they use black energy cords. They have their own means of attacking. They use something called black energy. So there's a cord that comes around the body and it ties us completely. And these are negative energies from the 4th region of hell. So that is another way in which sleep paralysis happens. And the third type, which is slightly more advanced, wherein what happens is negative energies from the 4th region of hell, they do some ritualistic worship or sacrificial fires, and they generate energy through it. And they also use their siddhis, we call supernatural powers. So what they do is they create this whole mesh over the person, and it's debilitating because your mental faculties are not working, your mind, intellect, everything is covered by black energy. So that is why you experience a lot of helplessness, and how Karen you were sharing that it can last for some time. It may last for a few minutes, it may go up to a few hours also. So now coming back to your question, Karen, and trying to give you some solutions. So first and the most important thing when you are in that position is not to panic. I've also experienced sleep paralysis, and I know how panic, you feel that panic inside because you're not able to reach out. So after I started spiritual practice, I learned that the less we panic, the more we are able to get help from God. So try to, at that time, start chanting from within, because as a person we are still present. Although the ghost or the negative energy has tied that cords around us, it's pressing us, there may be some breathlessness, we don't know. But still, some of our consciousness is present, we are present. So we can start chanting the name of God. So you can either chant the name of God as per the religion of your birth, or you can chant Sri Gurudev Datta that we said. It helps to come out of that web of negative energy. And as you go on chanting, what you will see that the hold of that negative energy starts to become less and less, and you will see your consciousness coming more to the forefront, and eventually the hold will go off completely. And then once that happens, you can express gratitude to God. This is something that I have tried when I have experienced sleep paralysis, and within few minutes I was able to come out of sleep paralysis. Aritra, I think you also experienced sleep paralysis. If you'd like to share something.
Yes, I can share. Just before I share, there's some comments that are also related. And basically Kelvin from Singapore is saying that I used to have sleep paralysis, thinking that ever since I started to know about SSRF, it has actually stopped. And David is also saying that I used to have sleep paralysis a few years ago, and this is how he found SSRF. But it still happens rarely, but spiritual remedies help. And I can relate to that also, Kelvin and David, because I used to also have sleep paralysis, meaning in 2007, when my insomnia and these other symptoms started, I basically also had sleep paralysis as one of these symptoms regularly. And what would happen generally is that I would feel that I'm just completely immobilized, like I'm paralyzed and tied to the bed, and I would not be able to move. And then I would really struggle, and somehow I would be able to move just a little bit. And then at that point, I would feel like I've woken up, but I would feel that I'm again paralyzed. So then I realized I'm still asleep, and I'm still experiencing sleep paralysis. And the cycle would happen again and again. And actually it would repeat 10 to 20 times. And then I would finally wake up with an eerie feeling, like it wasn't pleasant. So this would continue actually during this period. And then when I started spiritual practice with SSRF and I started chanting, the frequency went down on its own, just like Kelvin and David are saying. And for some time I didn't experience it. Then I remember one time I had sleep paralysis again, but this time, as Shweta was sharing, as per the guidance on SSRF, I remember that I remembered to pray, and I remembered to chant. So I prayed and chanted, and soon after, this deep, powerful voice came, and basically the chant started playing all around me in this deep, powerful voice, and the energy from it came and just destroyed whatever covering there was around me, and I was able to move, and I could wake up. So then I knew the cure for sleep paralysis. And now I don't really get sleep paralysis anymore.
I hope that helps you, Karen. So we can go to the next question then.
Yeah, we have another question. It's from Julia from Canada. So Julia is sharing, when I was young, maybe 7 or 8, my mom told me that there were nights where I would stand in her bedroom doorway just staring, She would call me to the side of her bed and ask what happened, but I wouldn't respond. Afterwards, she would tell me to go back to sleep, and I would just go back to my room. The next day, when she would ask me about it, I would not remember it. I have been always confused about this.
So Julia, we can relate to it and we can understand that sleepwalking, it can be quite scary. In the morning you don't remember. And that is also one of the ways in which we can understand that the problem is spiritual in nature. When rationally, you don't remember or you have no recollection of what happened the last night. So that is why it is spiritual in nature. And what we found that 95% of sleepwalking is because of spiritual factors and only 5% is because of psychological factors. So why this happens is, again, the root cause is because of departed ancestors, or sometimes common ghosts, they try to play pranks on the person, and that is when you experience sleepwalking. And coming to the solutions, basically there's some myth that once a person after sleepwalking is sleeping, we should not go and wake up the person. But unlike that myth, we should definitely go and wake up that person, because it's like a manifestation. See, you're under the control of that ghost or that departed ancestor, and they are trying to keep you in that mesh or keep you in that loop of negativity. And on our own, we are not able to wake up because there is spiritual energy involved, negative spiritual energy. So that is why, on purpose, if we know that someone has had sleepwalking the last night and is sleeping, we should go and help that person. Because when we wake up that person, then what happens? They are able to come out of that loop of negativity and get help. So that is what one should be doing. And the other remedies is, of course, chanting is very important, and applying all the healing remedies. I think what Aurithra was sharing in the beginning, like before you go to sleep itself, there are a lot of spiritual healing remedies that you can apply. Like you can play the chant Sri Gurudev Datta in low volume. Actually, there's a link on the SSRF website wherein this audio is, the recorded audio of 30 minutes is there, so you can download it and you can put that chant on a loop, like any audio devices that you would have, and just play it on a repeat mode. So that provides a lot of protection through the night. And the other thing is salt water healing remedy. Unlike many people feel that on the days that I feel very drained or I feel there's some attack on me, then I'll apply some healing remedy. But unlike how we feel, we should try to do a healing remedy every day. And salt water healing remedy, it takes only 15 minutes. So it is a very, very simple healing remedy. So once you do that healing remedy, what happens is the black covering that gets formed around you, it is around everyone, because we are exposed to so many different environments, we meet so many people. So when that black covering breaks before sleeping, then there is some amount of spiritual protection that we have already before going to sleep, and that goes a long way in protecting us through the night. So these are some things that we've suggested, but you can read more about healing remedies on the SSRF website. Aurithra, I don't know if you have experienced something related to sleepwalking and if you'd like to share.
No, actually, that's one thing that never happened to me, sleepwalking. But I did see it in some cases with others. But it's very interesting how you're saying that actually it's good to wake them up, because it's common knowledge. Even when I was growing up in the United States, everybody would say, "Oh, if they're sleepwalking, don't wake them up." It's common part of the culture. But I think this is really unique information that's being shared.
Yeah, and that's how sometimes negative energies also give us those thoughts, because they want to keep us in the loop. Then they give those opposite thoughts that don't wake up the person, and these kind of myths come. But we should apply that intellect and we should try to help the person in need, because like we said, it's a manifestation that's on. So I hope, Julia, that helps you. We can go forward and take some more questions.
Yeah, we have a question from Ranjana from India. So Ranjana is asking, I keep getting dreams about my great-grandmother who passed away 2 years ago. In the dreams, she does not look happy, and I'm trying to ask her what is wrong, but she's only crying. Does this mean something? Why is she crying? I also sometimes have dreams about snakes. What do these snakes mean?
So Ranjana, this is a very common question that we get on login. Many people get dreams of departed ancestors, and sometimes we see them happy, sometimes unhappy, and we keep wondering because they are our loved ones, no? That what they are trying to tell us, or are they in need of help, or what's happening, because we are so oblivious to the subtle dimension. So just to share about dreams of departed ancestors, it is one of the signs, which is that they are trying to, seek our attention, that they need help in the afterlife. Especially if you see that the dreams are very frequent and about the same ancestor. So what we found that 65% of the times, the ancestors who are coming in our dreams, they are in dire need of help. So we should try to help them. And the other thing is, sometimes in 30% of the cases, what happens is they are trying to seek some revenge, in the sense that we've not acted as per their wishes, or we've inherited some property and we are not using it as they would have liked. So they try to seek some revenge. So that is why these recurring dreams of departed ancestors happen. And the other thing that you mentioned about dreaming of snakes, so it is because this shows that there may be some ancestral problems in the family. And just for the benefit of our viewers, that there are so many problems that happen because of departed ancestors. So just to list a few, it can be eczema, addictions, financial problems, children not doing well in studies, or as though a whole black cloud is there on the whole family. In the sense, everyone is unhappy, or late marriages, abortions, children are born who are mentally or physically crippled. So these are some of the signs of ancestral problems. So as a solution, Ranjana, again going back to the Sri Gurudev Datta chant, because it is a chant which is specifically, it helps departed ancestors. And together with that, what you can do is also something called Shraddh. Shraddh is a ritual. Actually, there is a fortnight which comes once a year. It's called Pitru Paksh, which is the period which is dedicated to departed ancestors. So during that time, we should try to do some rituals for the departed ancestors. So if you feel that one or more signs of ancestral problem is there in your family, like you see so many members in the family suffering, or too many recurrent dreams or nightmares, so it can be an indication that there is some severe problem of departed ancestors in the family. So apart from Sri Gurudev Datta, which you can do from 2 to increase the number of hours of Sri Gurudev Datta chanting, during that fortnight, try to do Narayan Nagbali Shraddh or Tripindi Shraddh that we say. You'll have to take help, of course, of priests who can help you do these rituals. So, Orithro, I don't know if you had some experiences related to this.
Yes, I did. Actually, I did have recurrent dreams of my grandfather starting in 2009. He had passed away in 2009 actually, and then after he passed away, some different problems began to increase in my life. And these were accompanied by dreams where he would be present. However, when I saw him in these dreams, there was something different about him. He didn't look happy. He looked upset, or just something didn't seem right. And it almost seemed like there was a supernatural energy about him. So it left an unsettling feeling in the stomach. So these dreams would continue, and I didn't know what they meant. But then after I started chanting with SSRF, these dreams began to go away on their own. And actually after some point they stopped. So then I was just continuing spiritual practice, and I didn't think about these dreams for some time. But then one day, or one night actually, I had a dream with my grandfather in again. But this time, it was different. He actually looked happy. He looked more content. And I felt from within that because of the Datta chanting, the energy had gone, to help him to move to a better place. And after that, I didn't see him in any more dreams.
That's amazing, Maritro, how, ancestors, they get help. It's of so much value, the Datta chant. I would also like to share one experience related to Shraddh. So for us, what happened, this was the first year of marriage, and Sean and I, we were in Melbourne at that time. So we had been staying for a few months, and the Pitru Paksh period was coming. That is the fortnight related to departed ancestors. So it was on my mind, how we'll help our departed ancestors. So Sean and I, we were praying to Dattatreya deity. We were also chanting Sri Gurudev Datta. And then what happened that I wanted to do Shraddh, but there was no temple nearby. It was quite a distance from where we were staying. And the other thing was we were thinking how we will get those articles or things that are needed for Shraddh. Because Shraddh is an elaborate ritual and you need many, many things. So in my heart I was feeling that I will not be able to do enough for our ancestors, and who knows where they are suffering, and we wanted to really help. So I reached out to SSRF, I remember, and they sent me some alternatives to the Shraddh ritual which I could do. So the first day of Shraddh, Sean was supposed to go to work, and before that what I did is I prayed a lot to Dattatreya deity. I said that God, I'm really helpless. I don't know much, and I don't even know, I'm not a priest. I don't even know how to do this ritual properly. Please, you only come and help my ancestors, because you're the only one who can give them momentum and spiritual energy in their afterlife. And then I remember making rice balls. This is something that is done during the Shraddh. So I made rice balls with clarified butter and black sesame seeds. And those rice balls, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to offer it to ancestors. And there is a spiritual science that once the crows come and peck at those balls, it means that the offering has been received by ancestors. So we, like Sean and I, we had no expectations whatsoever, because we knew that in the vicinity there were hardly any crows. So we were thinking that okay, we'll just do the offering and leave it to Dattatreya deity. Whatever happens, we will see. So with lot of spiritual emotion, prayers, we just offered the rice balls outside our house on a tuft of grass. And I remember just praying, standing on the roadside and just praying to Dattatreya deity that please receive this offering. And you won't believe what it, so out of nowhere 40 crows came and they just pecked at the rice and they finished it in no time. So I was just awestruck, just standing there and remembering like God, feeling him really close, that how he heard the prayers. So I realized more than anything else, it's the spiritual emotion, and how you pray, you reach out, and God always responds to prayers. So after that, the crows pecked at the balls, I felt a very heavy load like just lifting off my shoulders, and I definitely believe that the offering was received and the ancestors got help in their afterlife. So this is also for all our viewers, like not to worry in case you are in different parts of the world. You can understand the ritual can be difficult. So more than anything, the spiritual emotion and chanting Datta chant can help a long way. So just wanted to share that experience. We can probably go to the next question.
Yes, that was a really inspiring experience. And actually we have a question from Anu Kumar Ponappa. She's saying that generally when she wakes up in the morning, she feels tired and has a heavy body, and she doesn't know why. Can you please help?
So Anu, I can relate to it. Like sometimes, when we get up, we feel that there's a lot of heaviness, or there's no energy, no enthusiasm, or the body parts feel heavy. So it can be an indication that there have been some attacks during the night. So it can be again departed ancestors who are trying to seek attention, or it can be some negative energies trying to affect us with negative energy. So what you can do is you can read up on the SSRF website how to make holy ash with SSRF incense stick. So you can apply holy ash on your body parts, especially the parts that feel heavy, so that can bring a lot of relief. And also salt water healing remedy, because salt water healing remedy, what it does is, the rock salt and water have intrinsic healing properties. So what they do is they suck out the black energy completely. So after you get up and you feel that you are just feeling very low and body parts are aching, so you can try to do a quick salt water healing remedy, and you can see if that helps you. And
actually, I also benefited from that. I've suffered from the same, and by trying the saltwater remedy, it really helped with it. So the next question is from Kara Kia, and she's saying that she has distress in the night when she sleeps, and it's pretty horrible. And she's asking what she can do. She does chant in the night when this distress is happening.
so what you can do is try to increase the hours of chanting. Like during the day, especially what we recommend is in the first half of the day, try to do more Sri Gurudev Datta chant in the first half of the day, and salt water healing remedy, or you can light incense sticks during the night and wave it around the room in which you are sleeping. You can wave it more in the corners of the house, so that helps to bring down the negativity overall. And another important point which can help sleep better is basically the sleeping position. So what happens is, many people, everyone has their own ways of sleeping and everyone finds comfort in different positions. But from a spiritual standpoint, what we have seen that when you sleep on your back or you're sleeping on your stomach, then we also have a subtle picture that elaborates more on it. Like you are exposed directly to the ground, isn't it? You are exposed to the hell region. So what happens is, impure frequencies continuously attack you, and because of that you are exposed more to the spiritual impurity. And like we had said earlier, if you are sleeping on your back, the Kundalini energy is completely blocked. It lies dormant. So that help we are not able to receive. All the motor organs, that vital energy doesn't flow. So you can see if that helps, you can try to sleep on your right or your left side. So when we sleep on our right or the left side, what happens is, one of the channels, spiritual energy channels in the body, the moon channel or the sun channel, remains activated. So what happens is, internally it keeps giving spiritual energy to the organs in the body, and it gives us more, that helps us to repel the attacks that come from the negative energies. And also all the other things that we explained so far, putting the chant on low volume, putting boxes around the bed, is something that you can try.
Actually, I also had some experiences with changing the position of my sleep. And before I found SSRF, I would always sleep on my back. So when I was having all this sleep paralysis, for example, in Insomnia, I was sleeping on my back. And just as Shweta shared, the spiritual energy that's distributed in the body reduces if you sleep on your back. So you're more susceptible to these types of issues. But when I read that it's better to sleep on your sides from a spiritual viewpoint, and I implemented that, I did notice a difference. And I found that my body felt calmer. Some of the symptoms I would experience, like increased heart rate and strange feelings of basically not being able to calm the body down, these symptoms reduced to some extent. And then as the spiritual practice continued, they went on reducing. But definitely the sleep position also made a difference.
So I hope that helps you, and you can try this.
Yeah, we have another question from David from the United States. So David is saying, is it bad to use beds that others have used? So he's used to using an older brother's bed as he moved out. And he's currently sleeping actually on his parents' old bed. So before he used to use his older brother's old bed, and now he's on his parents' old bed. And he's saying that because they got new ones, he's using it. So is it okay?
David, it's a very nice question. So, we wear clothes. They're closest to our body. So, likewise, things that are used by others, be it clothes, be it mattress, be it anything that's being used. So, what happens is over a period of time, they imbibe the vibrations of the person because it is closer to the body. So, while sometimes it is good that if we can change and we can use our own things, that is always better because we don't know. Not saying that they may be affected, but sometimes there is a black covering or there may be attacks from outside also. So it can happen. So ideally, it is better that we use our own things. But if that's not a possibility, David, then what you can do is you can put boxes around the bed, or you can sprinkle holy ash on the bed, or the bed sheet that you put on the bed. What you can do is you can put it in the box for charging for some time and then use it. Or you can also, there are chanting strips which you can put around the bed. So over a period of time, as you are applying healing remedies on it, then the negativity will continuously go on reducing and you will find that the distress is gone. Sometimes additionally what you could do is the bedsheet that you are using, you can leave it out in the sun for a long time. So sun also gives a lot of spiritual energy. It helps to repel negativity. So these are some things, David, which you can try.
Our next question is from Sujata Rao. And Sujata is asking, why is it that when we sleep, it is more easy for negative energies to attack?
Sujata, it's a very good question. So what happens is the time after twilight, at that time the Rajatama frequencies increase in the environment, means spiritual impurity is higher. And negative energies are nothing but these are subtle bodies, they don't have a gross form. So like attracts like. So what happens in the environment, the negative energies become essentially more active after the twilight period, and the time between 12 to 3 a.m. is very high. At that time the negative energies are very high. So that is why another tip for our readers is that we recommend try not to sleep very late at night. Try to sleep maximum by 11:30 if that is possible, because the period after sunset the activity of the negative energies in the environment increases quite a lot. So I hope, Sujata, that answers your question.
And actually, I also experienced the same, meaning due to my insomnia, I would find it difficult to sleep at normal hours. So even if I did get to sleep, it would be at a very odd hour. And I would feel not rested after that. I would wake, if it was a weekend and I would wake up late. And then I would not feel good. So either I couldn't sleep on the weekdays or I would feel bad after sleeping. But then after I started doing spiritual practice and my sleep cycle became regular, I was able to wake up earlier and I felt much lighter and more fresh. And in addition, even what Shweta is sharing about the negativity being more late in the night, I also experienced that because the symptoms would increase the most if I was awake between 12 and 3 a.m. And then they would slowly reduce from 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. That's why I could finally sleep at 6 or 7, but it was too late to get to sleep.
Sujata, also what sometimes happens, people try to watch movies late at night, or people go on video games, or they're surfing till late at night. So what happens is already the negative energy influence is high during the night, and then when we are especially doing activities, say I'm watching a war movie or I'm watching something that is it affects us more. So that is also something to keep in mind, that during the night hours, especially if you are not getting sleep or there's some problem, try to apply healing measures or try to chant. Even if sleep is not coming right away, go on chanting, as opposed to, because it's very easy to just pick up the phone, keep on watching Facebook, trying to do some games. So then you will see that the sleep patterns get affected even more, and you are actually harnessing more spiritually negative energy as opposed to positive energy. So this is also something that you can try.
We have another question from Neeti from India. So Neeti is asking, sometimes people talk while sleeping. Is this a form of sleep paralysis?
So Niti, there can be various reasons why this happens. It can be because of some psychological root cause. But what we found at SSRF, that anything that's abnormal, and so that can have its root in the spiritual dimension. Now, irrespective of the root cause, whether it's a departed ancestor, whether it's a negative energy, or it can be a combination also, we don't know. But the solutions remain the same. So as you go on doing more and more spiritual practice, you will see that these symptoms may reduce. And autosuggestion may also help because the psychological part can be taken care by the autosuggestion.
These were all our questions for today.
So dear viewers, I hope this webinar has helped answer some of your questions. And don't hesitate if you have more questions related to your different experiences, or sometimes there are some experiences which you're not very comfortable sharing openly. So you can also write to us in the private message, and we'd like to thank you for all the participation and the questions. It was really nice interacting with all of you. There is also a soft reminder that we have these 5-day workshops at the Goa Research Center, which shares about the entire spectrum of spirituality. So if all of you are welcome. Anyone can register for the workshops, and continue to watch our webinars, because we'll be streaming many more webinars on different topics of spirituality. And we would like to thank you. It was a pleasure having all of you for today's webinar. SSRF family expresses gratitude for today's session. A warm namaskar to all of you.